Copping draw toss, whole block is stunting. Low credit, don't sweat it, boy, we drop the funding. Stocking gloss while our pockets stock the hundreds. And we do all this in bondage. Ghost.
There's a little bit more on this. You could read just one more time, verses 43 through 44.
Khan, ye have heard that it have been said, thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thine enemy. But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you.
Khan. So, Christ, he said, you've heard it, it's been said, that you should love your neighbor and hate your enemy. And like we went into, a little bit before when we went into the Dead Sea Scroll findings, contemporaneously speaking, that was a common thought that was spread, right? You could hate your enemies, you could hate the sons of darkness, love the sons of light, love the righteous, they're on your side, they're in step with you, they're in line with you, but everyone that's doing the opposite, because from your vantage point, you're joined to the Most High, like you're doing His will, but everyone outside of you, they're wicked. So, in their mind, you can hate them, right? But, as I was going into, Christ said you had to love your enemies and bless them that curse you and hate you, right? And so what Christ is doing right there is He's reinforcing the law. And so what we're going to do, and I'm sure the brother was thinking about this, we're going to go to the book of Exodus 23. Matter of fact, I'm going to pull this in the ESV. And if you have any points on it, you could bring it out also. God, just verse 5. You know what? No, it's verse 4 through 5. Slap.
Khan, if you meet your enemy's ox or his donkey going astray, you shall bring it back to him. If you see the donkey of one who hates you lying down under its burden, you shall refrain from leaving him with it. You shall rescue it with him.
Yeah, talk about it, Ken. You got it.
Yeah, I was just gonna, make the point of, like, this is true love. Like, even when somebody's doing you wrong, you see a situation where you can help that person. You don't forsake helping that person in that situation. You take advantage of that opportunity. And like, this also goes to, like, when we look into the Old Testament, most people will say that, loving your neighbor as yourself is a new commandment. Like, this is something that's new in the world. But we see the concept right here in Exodus 23 to love your neighbor as yourself, and basically showing that, regardless of what someone does to you, you still got to love your brother, you love your people, but you got it out.
Con. Yeah, and that's beautifully broken down, and so based on this and based on what Messiah said, like we're commanded to love, these particular individuals, whether they're our enemies or not. They're other Israelites, so we have to love them, right? And of course, again, I want to keep giving a disclaimer: the enemies right here that's being referenced are other Israelites. That's, the audience that would have been in scope. But, when we're able to do this, just as a brother, he kind of alluded to earlier, this is a showing or a display of perfection or maturity, right? Because, the commandment initially, and we're going to, matter of fact, I'm going to pull that in Leviticus 19. It actually told us that we had to love our neighbor as ourselves, right? It said that verbatim there. And so that carries over here in Exodus. Like, that's still your neighbor. That's still your, the children of your people, And so just real quick, let me pull that. Leviticus 19. And you can read 17 through 18.
You shall not hate your brother in your heart. but ye shall reason frankly with your neighbor, lest you incur sin because of him. You shall not take vengeance or bear a grudge against the sons of your own people, but you shall love your neighbor as yourself. I am Yahweh.
Con. So the Most High commanded us not to hate our brother in our own heart, or hate, our own people in our own, in our heart. And that right here, the example that's given is, incurring sin or sustaining sin upon them, right? So in other words, how we do this is not showing, or not directing people or pushing people in the right direction when they're going astray, about to destroy themselves, right? Like, you're actually showing hate when you, like, for instance, a good example, you might have an issue with somebody, right? Because we could take this outside of just like your bro that you cool with, and you don't mind correcting him because you actually like him. You don't want nothing bad to happen to him. Like, put this in the sense of, or apply this in the sense of, somebody you don't like, right? Fellow Israelite, you don't like them now, and you see they're in iniquity or they're in sin, and this is gonna get them destroyed. And you're like, man, that dude wicked anyway, man. I ain't gonna whatever, right? That's actually, you would be incurring or suffering sin upon that brother when it's within your power to actually guide him into the right direction. Now, not, sometimes, you have to, go about it in the correct way, because the passages within the Bible that it actually tells you not to have your good evil spoken of. So like, you can't try to twist this and just use this as a means to rebuke a brother you don't like. Just like, you've just been waiting, like, oh yeah, I've been waiting for this dude to be wicked. I want to get on. Like, that's not the spirit that you you try to come in, right? And that's also dealing with perfection and maturity. Just because you got people like that, they just waiting for somebody to to go off. They waiting for that one person to go off because they've been wanting to spaz on them for a reason. They just waiting for a reason. That's not what this is talking about. This is literally talking about, a situation where, a brother is in sin, and you have to help guide them out of this particular situation so that they don't destroy themselves while, putting sin upon themselves, right? And this also goes to the concept of getting the blood off your hands, because, you can warn them in meekness and try to restore them. And they're like, man, I don't deal with you. Don't talk to me. Well, you've gotten the blood off your hands in that case, right? Like, you saved your own soul, as the I think it's in Ezekiel, it speaks about that, right? But again, that's not showing hate. And then it goes on to say, not to bear a grudge or avenge our people, right? So the Most High, as we see in the Torah, he's already commanded us, to do these things. And again, like I'm gonna keep saying, if we do these things, it shows or displays perfection, right? Just real quick, if you got any points, you can bring them out, but we're gonna jump back to Matthew 5.
Con, I got a precept.
Con.
Let's go to James chapter 1.
We go in there later.
which verse? Which verse?
It's I think it's gonna be like maybe 2 to 4.
Okay, yeah, I ain't touching on that. I'm going somewhere.
Okay.
All right, let's go to verse 25.
God. James, let me pull it up. James 1:25.
God,
I can read it for you.
God.
This book of James, chapter 1, verse 25. But whoso looketh into the perfect law of liberty and continueth therein, he being not a forgetful hearer, but a doer of the word, this man shall be blessed in his deed.
God. So it's telling us, if we look into the perfect law and continue in it, and not be a forgetful hearer, but a doer of the work, this man shall be blessed in his deed. So everything that we need to actually become perfect, like we've been reiterating throughout the lesson, is found in the laws of the Most High God. Now, I'm going to read up in context, starting with verse 22. It says, but be ye doers of the word, and not hearers only, deceiving your own selves. For if any be a hearer of the word and not a doer, he is like unto a man beholding his natural face in a glass. For he beholdeth himself, and goeth his way, and straightway forgetteth what manner of man he was. Now, the way that you can actually look at this and understand this is, okay, I got my Bible, and when I'm in it, I'm reading the laws of God, right? I'm being reminded of the things I'm supposed to do and not do. Boom. Go out into the world. Bible gets put up. And I don't open it back up enough. I don't meditate on it enough. So now I start to forget what type of man I'm supposed to be, that the scripture actually illustrates how I'm supposed to be. And I'm not picking up my Bible and reading it and reminding myself and meditating on it. And it's kind of how like fringes work. It's kind of how tassels work. When you look at them, you remember, hey, you got to keep these laws. It's a reminder of the laws you're supposed to keep, and it's a reminder that you got to keep the laws in general. So when you're out there and you're faced with these different temptations, these trials and tribulations, you have a reminder, something to remind you, and you're supposed to meditate on the word, meditate on the law. So when we look at verse 24, it says, for he beholdeth himself and goeth his way, and straightway forget what manner of man he was. It's so easy to do that, y'all, if we don't continue in this word. So verse 25 says, but whoso looketh into the perfect law of liberty and continueth therein, he being not a forgetful hearer, but a doer of the work, this man shall be blessed in his deed. So this is again showing how we become perfect, or how we continue in perfection also. But you got it.
Con, excellent point. Excellent point. The water for that.
For sure.
Con, just to continue on, let's jump back to Matthew 5. If you can just read for me verse 44 and 45.
Con. But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you, that ye may be the children of your Father which is in heaven. For he maketh his sun to rise on the evil and on the good, and sendeth rain on the just and on the unjust.
Con. So we went into verse 44, and as you go into verse 45, as the brother read, it starts off with the word that. And this is important. And just like I mentioned earlier with the word for, it's a similar situation. So the word right here is the word hopos or hopas, which is an adjective, is G3704. And when you look at the meaning, it gives a connotation. Right here, it's a particle, and it gives a connotation of how that, because it's translated as sometimes or once right here, that, how, etc. Definition gives you how, i.e., in the manner that, so basically, this is which what we would understand as causal, right? So again, when we see words like for and that, pay attention to it, because what's going to proceed after is very important. So when we look at verse 45, it says that, meaning in order that, or so that, we may be children of our Father which is in heaven, and as children, we're supposed to do, what we see our Father doing, right? Just generally speaking. And then what's expounded, I think in this passage, it utilizes the word for again, and again, just pay attention to those particular words. But it says for, meaning because he makes his sun to rise on the evil and the good, and sends rain on the just and the unjust. So a point here is that the Most High allows the sun to rise and the rain to come from the sky, despite how people behave toward him, whether they're obedient, or whether they're disobedient, So in the same way, we have to do, people the right way, despite how they, behave toward us, and that's again just utilizing, or excuse me, showing or displaying the ideal, or the concept of perfection, right? Or wholeness or completeness. It's showing, that the Most High, what he does is, he has the ordinances do what they do, despite, people on the earth, moving in wickedness and things like that. So in the same way, we can't just, not love our own people, just because they behave toward us, a particular way, right? And we read that, in a few verses up, whether they're, persecuting us or despitefully using us, like we still have to love them as thus saith the law. Just as the Most High, he allows the rain to come down, he allows the sun to shine and things like that. And so when we're doing the deeds of our Father, we're regarded as children of our Father, right? And that's, again, just on a carnal level, you like a parent, they want, their child to be, mature or to a complete stage, at a particular point in time. That's what's expected. You don't always expect your child to just, be a baby or, at the stage that they're at when they're very young, but you expect them to get to a particular state, right? So just in the same way, spiritually speaking, and I'm going to touch on this a little bit more, but in the same way, spiritually speaking, the Most High, he expects us to emulate him as his children, right? So continuing on, you could read verses 46 through 48.
This is Matthew 5, verses 46 through 48. For if ye love them which love you, what reward have you? Do not even the publicans the same? And if you salute your brethren only, what do ye more than others? Do not even the publicans so? Be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect.
God. So it says, for or because, if you merely love them that love you, what reward do you have? Because the publicans do this. The publicans, like, even they love who loves them, right? And the publicans, contextually, this is in reference to tax collectors during this time. But, again, this is like a type, for, people that are in the world that, they might not be the most moral people, right? They might not be the most moral people, but even they understand the concept of, loving who loves them. And like, that's like a constant, or consistent mantra. Like I've seen that on Instagram a plethora of times. People will be like, man, I'm only loving who loves me. And I'm only, dealing with, people that show me the same energy, right? But the scriptures tell us, if they be an Israelite, regardless of, how they, talk about us or deal with us, we still have to love them, because, they're our people. Like the Most High, he commanded us, to do such a thing, right? And the Most High, we even see him throughout scripture being, faithful and loving toward us, even when we were, doing things that we shouldn't have been doing, right? So, we can't, just, start to hate, like hate our own people because of, things that they're doing toward us or things that they're doing against the Most High. Like, we can't just start to hate them, right? And when you continue to read on down, verse 47, it reiterates this point, and so that's why, the Messiah, he says in verse 48, to be perfect as our Father in heaven is perfect, because if you're doing these things or you're doing the opposite of, just loving them who love you, like if you're doing the opposite of that, not only just loving them who love you, but loving them who might hate you, you're doing what the Most High is doing. So you're expected to be perfect as the Most High is perfect, because he's complete in this particular way. He's matured in this particular way. He's unimpaired in this particular way. And you're supposed to be as well, because that's what he expects of you as his child, right? Not everybody is the Most High's child. Like you might, for the parents on the stream, you might see other children acting a particular way, but you have a particular standard and a particular expectation that you have of your child. You're expecting your child, to conduct themselves in a certain way because they're a reflection of you. So, in a like manner, you know, the Most High, he's expecting us to be perfect. He's expecting us to be complete, you know, to not only just love them that love us, but to love all of our people. Right? You got any points?
I would say, like with this verse 47,
God.
it says, and if ye salute your brethren only, what do ye more than others? Do not even the publican so? At the current climate we have in the Israelite community is brothers that, you know, if you're not with my camp, you're not with my congregation, I don't deal with you, or you don't have the truth, or you're not really, you know, you don't really have good doctrine, or whatever it may be, you're not my brother, or not even them saying that you're not their brother. They may not say it, but they act like it. They seclude themselves. You interact with them, maybe on social media. They don't interact back because you're not their brother. So they don't have any type of energy for you. That energy they should have for you is the same energy that they have for their brother, that they talk to on a daily, or that's in their congregation or in their camp. But this ain't how we moving, y'all. And what that means is we got some work to do, because if we moving in that manner, I mean, we ain't perfect yet. And this scripture is saying, like, and if you salute your brethren only, what do ye more than others? Do not even the publican so? So you ain't no better than a heathen if you can't salute your brethren who don't subscribe to the same doctrine you have. They don't subscribe to the name that you call the Most High God. Like we call Yahweh, what we call the Most High God Yahweh, because we sternly believe and stand on that his name is Yahweh. But just because somebody calling him Yahuwah don't mean I'm not going to deal with this brother or his sister like they my brother and sister. They just have a different understanding. And we have to understand that, so that we don't start to harbor and gain hate in our heart for our brothers and sisters, and not actually treat them as such because of these differences. But yeah, Ak, you got it.
Man, yeah, that was an excellent point, man. All praises.
The water, all praise.
Whole block is stunting. Low credit, don't sweat it, boy, we drop the funding. Stocking gloss while our pockets stock the hundreds. And we do all this in bondage. Ghost.